I'm trying to make a long video, but I'm too tired to make a good one. So I drift from my topic midway and then I don't remember what I was talking about because there's so much to talk about. But I think the thing that I'm really happy to see today is something I'm reading on the Huffington Post, where it says that the Texans are warming up to renewables, that they're starting to see the potential. And you know, I can imagine that so well. It's not that I don't have any evil intent towards people that like to live a big life with big houses and quads and motorcycles, all that stuff, because they want to have fun. Who can blame that for that? But it would be so nice if these people are worrying that, oh, it's just my state is burning down, my cattle is starving, I cannot find hay anymore, the oil is running out, it's so hot, I cannot pay for my electricity bill, my air conditioner is breaking down, and it's all shit and it sucks. And then suddenly they look out of the window and they see that sunlight that beams down on those streets, and they say, how much is that actually? Did you ever calculate how much watts, how much terawatts of energy is raining down on your state every day when the sun shines, which it does most of the year? How much energy that is? Is that more or less or about as much energy as you get out of the ground using fossil fuels? Or you used to when it was like boom time with oil in Texas? I think it's more. It's much more. So you only have to get out a fraction of that energy. You only have to utilize a part of it. And then you can change things around completely. There's no reason why a dry state would have to remain dry, especially not when it's bordering water, the Gulf of Mexico, where you can basically build channels with renewable power, desalinate with renewable power, irrigate with renewable power, make greenhouses with renewable power, make the glass for it, make your tractor run on ammonia, make your trucks run on ammonia, all clean, all solar or wind driven, things like that. It can be, you can plant trees, you can grow them, you can irrigate them, you can make shade for your animals, you can do different types of farming. There's plenty of land to do that. You don't need, it's the economical theories that just don't, you know, don't bring any benefit after a while. If you have to try to compete in terms of meat or something production with Brazil, it won't work because Brazil has plenty of oil, it works differently, their calculations are differently, they can grow those animals much easier than you can in Texas. And why would you want to compete with Brazil? The country is like thousands of miles away. Don't. But economical theories and banks try to make you do that. Maybe it's a wrong example, you know, don't put it against me, but the whole global market is such a bullshit thing. And you're in a sunny state in Texas. You're just doused in your means of survival every day, and you might be cursing it because you cannot afford the electricity anymore for your air conditioning. Or I believe I read somewhere that the electricity price in the US are widely differing between, for instance, California and Texas, and I believe they are pretty high in California as opposed to Texas. So that caveat, but you know that economical thinking is completely fucked up when a bank announces that there will be food scarcity in the future. You know, what is economics for? It is to manage scarce resources and maximize their utility, and I would say, of course, also to solidify their availability for the future. Well, not so. Keynesian economics is exclusively designed to maximize the profits for the oil companies, to maximize the profits for the bank, because it is forward investing, it is want, not need driven investing. Which means that whenever you feel like you think it's a good idea to make something, so let's say I make 100,000 fire trucks, fire engines, I can get credit for that in the Keynesian economy, because you know I created fire engines, and then somebody will buy them, surely, you know, because I create the product, and then somebody can. It's fucked up. It doesn't work. Nobody calls for that. Nobody needs that. But the way Keynesian economics works is that it then says, well, no, listen, if you make those fire hydrants engines, those big trucks, you have a lot of people working, and all those people will earn money, and all those people will spend that money into society and consume other stuff, and they will have televisions, and they will have laundromats and magnetrons and all that crap. And of course that's driving all kinds of other business, and but it ultimately only boils down to that you're trying to maximize the consumption and the translation of oil into products with the aid of money, of credit, with the aid of the banks, carbon credit system. It's a wrong system. It's not for survival. It is actually built to waste. It is a waste. The objective of Keynesian economics is to waste, which is what Bernanke is now doing again. He's creating money. What he's basically doing is he is sending truckloads of ammunition to Wall Street, money that Wall Street can leverage, and then go to private businesses and destroy them, or buy them out, or put them into debt. And the more they do that, the more people will get desperate, so the more successful they are. That's what Bernanke is doing. Bernanke is basically, with the current carbon credit system, is weaponizing Wall Street with his quantitative easing. So this is where I probably lose the thread of my own video, because I'm a little bit tired. I have a new job and I have to commute about 6 hours a day, which is interesting, horrible, tiring, and well, it's not that bad actually, but all at the same time. But you know, if Texas goes green in the same way as they have gone black when they discovered their oil, then that is a huge way of propaganda for renewables, and it will be followed around the world, and they will do it, I guess, I know some Texans, they will do it big, and that's fantastic. So I'm all for it. I'm also all for it because there's no joy in reading about let's say scarce and diminishing food supply, especially not when you know that there's plenty solutions to that, if you just look beyond carbon as the only means of survival. That's just like so dumb. You know, if you're a religious person, you should really consider my other video where I talked about the alien nature of modern society and the alien nature of fossil fuels. They are not from Earth. They're from beneath the Earth. They're not extraterrestrial, they're intraterrestrial, and they should remain there. You should also consider that, you know, if you're a religious person and you say, well, this Earth was given to us by God, well, God didn't give you the oil, apparently, because otherwise he would give you ready fountains of oil, or he would have given you an oil rig or something like that. But you didn't find it for millions and millions of years, and lots of civilizations came and went without ever finding it all. If those civilizations are not created by God, then I guess God is a late bloomer or a late comer. But these people had different gods. Are those inferior gods then? Let's say Beelzebub and the other ones, I'm not sure. Do I make sense? Point is that I don't think that oil belongs on the earth, and I guess lots, if not every living organism on this planet would agree, because, you know, we're already losing a couple of percentage of oxygen that we used to have to breathe, and we have to adapt to that already. And the other thing that doesn't belong on this earth is nuclear fuel, because these atoms would not have been created spontaneously. Plutonium, strontium, iodine-133, iodine-128. These things persist for thousands of years. Everybody in Europe and in the US has been breathing these hot particles, and a lot of us will die of cancer as a result. You know, in Japan, children with deformities will be born. God's creation. I'm not religious, but I'm just, you know, if I was talking to a religious person, really, I would ask him, what do you think of this Shimkus guy? You know, he is screwing you over, but that's a completely different story, and I'll try to find my video about Republican representative Mr. Shimkus, because he thinks he is God. He makes up quotes from the Bible. He just makes them up. They're not in the Bible, but he recites them as if they were. He's not even a minister. But anyway, that's just because I think there are some religious people in Texas that I mentioned this. I would say bravo, and dig yourself out of the hole. Occupying Wall Street, for instance, by the way, is not gonna change anything unless you really occupy them. Standing outside is not occupying. I live in a city, and there's a tram in front of my door, and there's like thousands of people driving by every day. They don't have one iota of influence on my life. So that doesn't help. You have to move into the buildings, and you have to do something with the people in the buildings. I don't say you have to hurt them, but you have to make, let's say, working difficult, or you have to demand for a different system. You have to demand for a publicly owned banking system, like Utah. Is it Utah or North Carolina where they have that? Solid money, let's say the ability to use gold and silver as regular currencies in different weight denominations than the usual ounce, so a tenth of an ounce, and all that. So you have to demand something, you're not gonna like, and then if police want to rescue you to the ground, well, offer yourself up with, let's say, 10 people, in the way that it was done on the videos, where people do nothing wrong and they get wrestled to the ground. It is not going to work, because policing and enforcing the law only works as long as people are controlled by their own sense of decency and guilt and respectability. So the point of this whole exercise in Wall Street is that the private organizations that run Wall Street do not have a discernible morality, decency, but they're stealing from people at the stock exchange that are investing, from municipalities with loans that are from mortgage owners, because they have this whole database that is fraudulent, but it's still enforced, from the drugs cartels, whose money is laundered and managed by the banks on Wall Street, gold manipulation by Wall Street, food price manipulation has been explained in the World Bank reports on food prices, where they say, well, we tried it, but it didn't work. Thanks very much. How much farmers have became bankrupt. They control your fossil fuel energy supply, and it shouldn't be them, it should be an organization that respects the needs of the majority of Americans, not of the minority. The problem is, and I've been talking about that, is that with fossil fuels you cannot no longer help the majority of American people. And that's why I'm very happy about Texas. If Texas leads the way, and if the Texan mentality is going to rule in the renewable world, then I think we're going to see a very fast shift. Let the Texans be the Germans of the US, and I'll be content to see that happen. It would be very good news. Thanks for listening.